Hey everyone, Cherie here. Today I'm going to be working on day 5 in my December album, and I'm going to be using the beautiful Felicity Jane Coco Kit. So for day 4 I had a full-sized photo in my album, so I'm working on the back of that today and I'm going to make it a 2-page spread. This one is all about our advent calendars. I've got a photo of each of our calendars here, and because there are 5 of us, I like to use day 5 for our advent calendars. So what I've got here is 5 little tags that I've cut out. 4 of them are papers from the kit. This last one is one of the journaling cards. So these tags are about 2 by 3 inches in size, and I've also printed out some journaling to go with each of those. So I just created 2 by 3 inch boxes in Photoshop and filled in my text and printed those out. So they're ready to use. What I'm planning on doing is making each of these little tags a flip up. So I'm going to score across the top there, and then inside will be a photo and the journaling for each of our calendars. I'm also thinking on the top of these, I'm going to add a little vellum circle, and I'm going to use the Taylor alphabet stickers to put the first initial of our names on those, so you know which one belongs to who. And there'll be some twine going up to the top of the page as well. I've got the number 5, which I'm thinking I will also suspend from the top with some twine, and I've got some little bits and pieces here from the Felicity Jane Noel kit from 2019, so I'm not quite sure if I'll use any of these, but I've got those there ready to grab if I want them. I do have some of the little sequin stars that were available with the Coco kit, so they're there as well. And I'm thinking of playing around with the Coco star stencil that was in the kit as well. I think that'll be a lot of fun, just to add some stars in the background on that white cardstock. And I've also got some glitter to add to that as well. Now, I have not done a lot with modeling paste or texture paste, so I may be doing these things wrong, but I'm just going to have a go, have a little play and see how it turns out. So it could be a disaster. I guess we'll see. Please excuse my birds in the background. They're inside today because it's quite windy and rainy here on the Gold Coast. Okay, I think I am ready to make a start, so I'll pop you on fast forward and get right into it. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to be doing my texture paste. So I've got my travel size Tim Holtz media mat underneath, so it's a smaller sized one. I'm just holding my stencil onto my cardstock there, and I'm just spreading that texture paste across the stencil, trying to get nice even coverage and also being careful not to go over the edge. So I've lifted that stencil off. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but right now I'm using my glitter duster and I'm just adding some white glitter to those stars before they dry. So that's just to add a little bit of shimmer to the page. So you can just see those stars there. I will go ahead and do the second page as well. Now I know the stencil doesn't reach right across the page, so I will go in and just fill in that little blank area there on both pages once this lot of stars are dry. So once again, I'm just spreading out that texture paste right over the stencil, trying to get all the stars and trying to keep a nice even coverage there. Okay, so almost done, just smoothing that out. Alright, so I'll lift that off, and now once again I'll add my glitter using my glitter duster, and then I'll be able to put these pages aside to dry. Almost done, getting lots of glitter everywhere here. Okay, so that's looking good. I'll set those aside to dry, and in the meantime I'm working on these little tags. So I've cut all of my journaling into tags the same size as those pattern paper tags, and I'll be adding each of the journaling tags underneath one of these pattern paper tags. And the idea is I'll be able to flip up the top tags to reveal the photo and the journaling underneath. So to create the little flip up, I'm actually going to use my mini scoreboard, and I'm going to just score a line across the top of each tag, which will just give me a nice neat crease, and it'll allow the tags to fold up really easily and neatly. So I'll go ahead and do each of the tags, just making sure those corners were correct, and I'll score that one. So they've all been scored now. At the top of the tags, just to add a little something extra, I'm adding these little squares of gold glitter vinyl. I love that the vinyl already has the adhesive on the back, so it's nice and easy to adhere these onto the pattern paper. And I love that it just adds that touch of gold to the tops of the tags. I'm just stitching around each of the tags and the journaling as well, just to add a bit of texture there. And now I'm adding these vellum circles to the front of each of the pattern paper tags. So just using a little bit of vellum tape behind that just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to use my paper piercer and pierce some holes right around the edge of the vellum circles. So I'll go ahead and do that now, and then off camera I'll just go ahead and stitch around those circles with some embroidery thread. You can see there, just gives a nice subtle edge around each circle and just helps them stand out a little bit more. So right across the tops of the journaling tags now, I'm using the Coco stamp set, and I'm just choosing a small stamp for each of the tags and just going in at the top of the journaling there on each one. So the first one was a little Christmas tree. This one here is a little heart. Then I think the next one is a tiny little star. Just doing a test on that scrap paper just to make sure I've got enough ink there. So that's the little star one done. And on the other two journaling tags, there was a little bit more space at the top. So this one here is a larger, like a starburst. Kind of looks like a little snowflake. But that one's gone on that tag, and then I've got a tiny little Christmas tree for this last tag, and because there's such a big space there, I'm actually going to do a row of 3 trees here. So I'll just go back in, a little row of 3, and that looks really good. I'm happy with those. So to finish off the tag fronts, I'm adding these chipboard stickers with a gold foil from the Tailor kit, just adding our initials on each of those tags. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to punch the hole at the top of my tags. I'm just going to use a pencil to mark where I want the hole to be, because you can see that when you put them into the hole punch, and that just helps me line it up and punch the hole exactly where I want it. So just doing that with my We Are Memory Keepers punch, and I'll go ahead and do all of the tags. Make sure they've all got holes in the top there. So I'm just adding twine to the very top of each of those tags, and I have punched a hole in the top of my chipboard 5 as well, and I'll be adding twine to that too. Alright, I realised that I hadn't actually adhered the tags together, so I'm just using a little bit of double-sided tape right along that very top of each tag and sticking the tops of the tags down there. So now you can flip them up really easily. Okay, so now I've got my background pages. I've filled in the rest of the textured stars, so this is now ready to use. I'm going to punch the holes down the sides of the pages so they'll be ready to go into my album, just using the previous page in my album as a guide to punch those holes. Really happy with how those stars have come out. So now I'm just positioning all of my tags onto the page. So I really want to get my spacing right and make sure I'm not covering up those punched holes down the side as well. And I also want them all at different heights. So I'm just playing around with the positioning of those, and my number 5 will go at the end there. So just adjusting the ones on that second page. And I will be just extending the twine of each tag to the top of the page and stapling those into place so that it looks like all of the tags are hanging down from the top of the pages. Okay, so now I can go ahead and stick all of those tags into place. I'm just using double-sided tape on the back of each of those. So I'll work my way right across the page there. Alright, so that's done. Now I'm just stapling the twine to the top of each, at the top of the page for each of those tags, and then I'll just trim off the excess twine from the back there. Alright, so next up I'm going to finish off the tag fronts with these little gold sequins, little star sequins that were available when the Coco kit first came out. They were available separately in the shop. So I love that that's just adding a little bit more gold to the front of each of those. Next up, I need to add my photos inside those little flip-ups. So just using double-sided tape, nothing fancy on the inside, just adding those photos straight onto the pattern paper, and that's covering up the back of the stitching of those circles as well. Alright, so next up I need to adhere my number 5 to the page. So I wanted to add a little something extra down the bottom of the 5. So I've got a little tag from the Noel kit from last year, and I just typed up the words Advent calendars and adhered that to that little tiny tag. So I'm threading that onto some twine, and I also have that little tiny tassel. That was from the Joy kit a couple of years ago. They are still available in the shop though, I believe. So I've threaded that onto the twine. I thought about adding that little branch, but it was just hanging down a little bit too low. So I've just left it as the tassel and the tag. And I've decided to hang it from the very top of the 5. So I've got that twine, I'm just threading it through that same hole, and I'm going to tie it a little knot at the top there, just so that it's hanging just under the 5 there. So I've got that twine going down behind that number 5. I've just added another little star to the side of the 5, and now I'm attaching the twine to the top of the page. To adhere the number 5 onto the page, I'm going to use my super strong double-sided tape just to make sure it stays in place, because it does have that twine going down behind it. So I want to make sure this is nice and secure. So just adding another couple of pieces there. One more little piece on the side. And I just need to get rid of the backing pieces and then carefully stick that onto the page. Just hanging that down from the top there. And then I'm going to just secure that little tiny tag with a couple of little foam squares, just so that it's not moving around too much, but the little tassel will be just hanging free. So just a couple of little squares there, and that will fix that problem so it doesn't hang off the side of the page too much. Okay, so that is it. These pages are now ready to go into my album. So I'll give you a closer look at the details here. You can see the little flip up there, the photo on the inside, and the journaling. And we've got this next one here with the little tree stamps. This one was the star stamp on the top of the journaling. And then on the second page, you've got that red tag there, and a little heart stamp inside, and that little starburst stamp as well. And there's that little tiny tag. You can see the stars in the background there too. So now I'll go ahead and add those pages into my album. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I put these pages together today. Please let me know if you've got any questions. Just pop it down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I'll leave a link to Felicity Jane for you down there as well. And I look forward to sharing some more pages from my December album with you very soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you then.